Just a quick reminder that if you want to support Concepts and Legends, please remember to like and subscribe. And you can also show your support by using our TCG affiliate link for any and all of your magic needs by using the link you see here or below in the description. Any and all help is greatly appreciated and helps us bring you more videos like the one that is starting right now. Hello, fellow Manadorks. If I could pick one thing I love about Magic, it would be how multifaceted it is. And it is multifaceted. Surely as that last sentence made total sense. It's a game with a multiverse that is inarguably multiculti. So far, I've interviewed artists from Peru, France, Canada, even Seattle. However, today I get to add Croatia to that list as I sit down with MTG artist Milivoj Ćeran to talk about, well, why don't you see for yourselves? I want to thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and it's nice to be here.
First of all, I want to congratulate you. You're self-taught in English?
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you do that? I'd love to be able to be smart enough to teach myself another language.
In Croatia, and before when I was a kid, I was born in former Yugoslavia, and now Croatia. So we had one great thing, and that was subtitles. So we watched American movies with subtitles. And when you hear one sentence for 10 times and you see the translation, then actually you learn it. And after watching many movies, after translating the songs, because I also played guitar and everything, it slowly became easier to understand, and later I was able to make small conversations, and that was it. So yes, and one other thing, it's emailing with clients. I'm working with English, with UK publishers and American publishers for more than 16 years now. And it's everyday mailing in English. So, I mean, you cannot not learn it.
That's impressive. I mean, I watch a lot of anime and I've picked up minimal Japanese. I mean, I think it probably has to do with the fact you were younger, and that's when they say the brain can actually handle new languages. Yeah. But part of your early education, what I find interesting is that you originally were focused on conservation and restoration.
Yeah, that was my degree. So I enrolled the Academy of Fine Art in 1997, and we were the first generation of conservators, restorators in Croatia. And I graduated in 2003. But during that time, I really learned a lot about techniques, old techniques, medieval techniques, about patience. Patience is really important in restoration, and about complexity of work, and making documenting each step of the process. So this is the part that I still use in my work, because every single illustration I made, I documented. I have photos, thousands of photos from the scratch, from the blank paper to finish painting. Everything is actually documented. So if one day when I will work on my art book, I can make 10 books just about, progress, how to paint watercolor, acrylic, oil, gouache, and because I have everything on my hard drive.
I love that about you. You're very open about the steps that you take on your Instagram and things like that. Now with so you're saying, like, with conservation restoration, do you learn how to maybe repair a painting, and that sort of teaches you in reverse how a painting is made? Is that what it comes from?
We learned a lot there about how to make painting, but not just how to paint. I mean, really, how to stretch canvas, how to make preparation base, how to make egg tempera directly with a yolk of egg with pigment, then grind it and make your own color. We made frescoes, we made gilding, we made everything. So basically, all things that were normal in 19th century in traditional schools that are now out. In conservation, it's part of a learning process. So after you know how it's made, you are more able to understand what need to be fixed on the particular painting and how to fix it, because you know the tools, you know the medium, and we even made copies of painting. That was a part of learning. When you make a copy of I don't know, fresco, or a copy of some egg tempera medieval wooden painting, then you know how to make restoration part, you know, like retouch, how to make I mean, everything basically.
That's crazy. That's so interesting. I never really thought about it, but I never thought that people who've restored art probably should be good at art as well. It kind of just seemed, I don't know why I thought it was sort of like a more of like just like sort of like plumbing or something, where I thought it was technical, but that makes sense. You should be able to do the paths that they took in order to recreate it.
It is a combination of art, science, and you know, this technical process. So basically, when you are when you have degree in conservation restoration, you can make restoration, or you can make a living just as making copies of Renaissance paintings or Baroque paintings that some people do, because you learn so much about old forgotten techniques and how to use it, that most of people don't know how it is made. Then it's a wide open marketplace. I mean, everything I learned, I use in some forms in my illustration work, but I had to make, you know, I had to choose my path when I make my what was the name, the final work at academy, when I was making graduation. At that time, I was already making some illustration. I was working some freelance gigs, and I was finishing my first children book. Yeah.
It was the fairy book, right?
Yeah, the fairy book. So it was in 2002 when I worked on it, and 2003 when when the book was published. I was just about to graduate. So after I graduate, I already like more illustration than restoration, and I slowly make my path into illustration world. So it was first children books, but I just realized that it's not satisfying me enough. I was really wanted to do high fantasy, and I was always dreaming to that part of illustration, especially when after academy. I'm sure you heard about studying at academy. When you go to academy, then you are exposed to really wide art approaches. So I was also at one time tried to make abstract art and something like this, but it really it really sucked.
It didn't.
No. I mean, I was making wine painting once. I was, I don't know, third year or so, and I was painting in, you know, and I felt at one time, okay, what the hell am I doing? If I don't like it, how can I ensure anybody else that it is good? I mean, if I think it's a crap, then it's a crap, and I don't want to pretend. And then I realized that all the things that you learn in this traditional way, like perspective anatomy, light and shadow, color theory, it's all not just very appreciated, but it's also a demand if you want to be an illustrator. Not just like you have some crazy abstract ideas, or you make conceptual art like putting sand in gallery and light bulbs and with title, no title, or something like this. It's just my role models, my idols were people that really know how to paint and draw. And that was my motivation to learn as much as I can, so I can express my ideas. I mean, you cannot paint, I don't know, some fantasy warrior in armor and floating fabrics if you don't know how to paint armor and fabrics and people in general.
Right.
So
Right. It's there's not going to be anything like that by Andy Warhol, you know.
No, definitely. I mean, can you imagine to submit your artwork to Wizard of the Coast for Magic and say, you know, I like Magic, but you see these black spots on this white canvas.
Right?
It's really, really great, and it represents the idea of. Okay, next.
Yeah,
bye.
exactly.
Yeah.
Like, did you
So
like?
that was
It makes
it.
me think about that. Did you hear about that guy who sold that invisible sculpture for something like 18,000?
Oh yeah. The Emperor New Clothes.
I can't believe it.
Definitely.
It's like it takes a while to wrap my head around that one. So you went in, but it seems like the fairiest thing. It seems like you were on the right path, at least fantasy wise, and you were doing D&D work. But what was the moment that got you from D&D into Magic?
Well, getting into Magic was really, really, really long path. And when I say long, I mean really long, because I've been trying for 11 years to break into Magic.
Really?
So for all young artists and listeners who are thinking that after submitting few works in few months that it's end of the world. No, believe me, after 11 years you can still get in, but you really, really have to be determined, you know, to break in. And of course, it's not just your talent, your hard work, everything. It must be part of luck. I mean, there for Magic is you know as well that it's a top brand in gaming industry in the world. So they are flooded every day with thousands of submissions, and competition is really, really hard. So to be able to break in, you need to be really good, and you must be seen by someone. So at the time when I was working, at the time when I was trying to submit to for not less time, but after many years to Magic, I was already working for D&D for 5 years, but that still didn't guarantee me to get job in Magic, because there are different departments in the same company. So you have D&D and you have Magic, you have D&D art directors and Magic art directors. One thing, it's not guaranteed that you will work on the other thing. But at that time, Cynthia Shepard was just about to become art director in Wizard of the Coast, and I just asked her, "Okay, Cynthia, I'm not bragging, I'm not doing anything, but I just wondering, do you think if this is good enough or not? Because I submitted many times, but never heard the real feedback. If it's bad or not good enough, why it is still not good enough?" And she said me, you have a thing that we all have. You have better and images that are not so good in the same submitting file. So if you pick up carefully few of those images and resend it, it's something that really match the Magic Gathering. But that's just few pieces, not those the others. And actually, that was the small push that I needed to finally break in. And the real test when I was received my first assignment. So my first card was Ineffable Blessing, and you can believe it was really in the worst possible time ever. I mean, I wanted so bad to work after 11 years. We were in the middle of the moving to a new home. Half or half stuff was packed in boxes, My studio was half packed in boxes. I had at that time my son was 3.5, and my daughter was 8 months old, crying baby.
Ooh.
We are not sleeping, and guess what? I got dream assignment to prove myself.
Oh.
And at that time, I was still working as a teacher full time in art school, but I knew it. It was one lifetime change. So, if I don't do at that time perfect test piece, then I'm out, and probably there won't be another chance. So I really kill myself with working on that one. And after I got my first approval, then I was in, but not before, after the first assignment. And by the way, I want to show you something. It's still here. So this is the only magic artwork I didn't sell, because it is my first one.
Wow.
So I kept it for sentimental reason. Of course, I had a lot of those queries and questions, people who want to buy it, but I said no. It's the first one. It was not the published first one. The first published was Vanquish's Banner.
Right.
But the first I paint, my first magic piece was Ineffable Blessing, and it's in our room, in my wall.
I can understand that. I mean, and it was the thing that you needed. It actually was that piece that got you through the door, and it made it happen. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot to it. So now with your style, now you've said in interviews that you spend more time working on details for the book covers, whereas like the regular illustrations for like Magic, you spend less time. Now, the attention to detail on all of your pieces is insane. I mean, if I look at like Parcel Beast or Healer's Hawk or Court of Bounty, like there is so much that is in there that you can't even capture like through the cards, but you still do it anyway, and it's gorgeous. So what kind of details do you do that would make a book cover go so much more intense?
Well, that's a good question, because in magic cards, it's very important that it needs to be visible when it's shrinked on few inches, And book cover is something, or not just book cover. If I make some posters or some other bigger size art, it's important that everything must be visible. And in magic cards, it's some of details are actually lost when it's shrinked on small size.
Right.
But I tend to give the same treatment to cards as I do for the book cover.
I was going to say.
Yeah, but it need to be readable in big volumes, big masses, big shapes. It must be readable in small size. But of course, I made a lot of structure, textures, details, and sometimes those funny Easter eggs. But it's different kind of art. You have a card art, and you have book cover, and book cover is actually way more detailed, because it will be. Those details won't be lost when it's going to be published in a real size.
Right. Okay, I got you. But I mean, I still think that it's super impressive that you the amount of detail that you do now. I've noticed behind you, you've got Chatterfang, the print of Chatterfang. Now, I think that you're sort of
a decoration. Yeah,
you sort of are. I think now, kind of, sort of the unofficial squirrel guy of Magic. You've done quite a few of them.
Yeah, I made 3. The first one was Earl of Squirrel, and it was for my first set for the Unstable when I started to work in 2016, 5 years ago. Chatterfang and Chatterstorm. So yeah, And I have quite a lot of the other animals. So maybe I am a magic animal guy. I don't know.
Well, your animals are really, I mean, they're so good. I mean, they're just like, a lot of times there's such a realism to them, even though they're fantastic. They appear to be like believable fantasy animals. Like even though, like, say for instance, like Generous Stray, it's looking at you in a way that no like earthly cat can. It's got, like, not humanized, but it's got such emotion that it's talking to you through its eyes, but yet it's still got this like a quality to it that is very reality based. So I love that about your work.
Well, thank you. I mean, the main reason is because whatever I get assigned, I make a big research. So not just photos, but also I talk with people who have cats or have I don't know, dogs, or from those tellings, you can make it more believable if you hear some hidden detail that you don't know as a person who do not have cat or I don't know, some other animal. I mean, I do have African gray parrot, but I'm not using it as a reference, but I watch it every day, and it's fantastic when if you see the photo of the bird, and actually bird we in all part of life and on all part of day, when make some crazy thing with wings, with feathers, how the feather look in close up, and those are the things that I try to implement in each of my artworks to make it more believable. Sometimes I use references from Google. Sometimes I take photos of friends who have cats or dogs or whatever I need. But it's just I take it very seriously, and when I'm doing something, I really want to do it the best as I can. So the people who see my art can connect with it. And when you mentioned Generous Stray, it was after the Earl Squirrel and Banner. It was one of my most popular cards before the Cauldron Familiar came out. But before COVID, when we went to Magic events, Magic Fest tournaments, there was a lot of players, fans who approached to my table and said, "Oh man, I just can't believe how good you paint this cat. It's almost look like my cat." Because people really connect with this art and recognize their cats because I just made big research. I do not have cats, but I made research, and I get a lot of very positive feedback from the people who actually have cats and who said, "This is the right gaze of a cat. This is the right attitude. It's really like my cat when gave me dead mouse as a gift. You nail it." So that's beside the money and fame. I mean, this is really the real feedback that actually show me that people appreciate what I work.
That's awesome. One thing that I loved hearing is that you I mean, you've done covers for albums, but you like to listen to music a lot when you paint, right?
Yeah.
You're a Lorena McKennitt fan.
Well, actually, I listen all kind of music, but mostly it's rock, metal, ambient, dark ambient. Depends on my mood, and sometimes it depends even on art I'm working on. So most of the time I can listen for some dark ambient or some fantasy metal, something. But sometimes it can be ABBA or if I like I will listen for ABBA, But when I'm making sketches, or actually when I start to work on illustration and thumbnails, rough sketches, those are the most important parts in visualization, because at that time I'm transferring art brief into visual language. So I'm creating the scenery, the camera angle, the characters, whatever it is. At that time, I must be in complete silence, because every kind of music actually dragged me away from this really hard focusing, creating part of painting, drawing process. But later, there are hours and hours and hours of making painting in traditional media. So when I paint, I really listen all kind of music, but yeah, it's mostly it.
When did you become so fascinated with Norse mythology that led you to eventually crowdsource a book from it? How did that synthesize for you? Did it start early, or?
Well, I'm not sure when it starts. I think that was something that I was fascinated when I was a kid, But I just didn't know that it was something particular, like I don't know, Vikings or something. It started with the Knights of Round Table, Tale of King Arthur, and then Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, everything. But finally, Norse myths, Thor, Loki, giants, ice giants. I was completely blown away when I heard about it. When you mention it, yeah, this is my book about Norse mythology, and people often ask me, "Man, you are from Croatia. Why didn't you make Croatian or Slavic mythology? Why did you make Norse mythology?" And I said, "Because I like Norse mythology. There's no other reason. I mean, you do what you like. If you are born in France, it doesn't mean you are not allowed to paint Chinese dragons. I mean, if you like Chinese dragon, you can paint Chinese dragon." So I really entered this world of Norse myth, and I just like everything about it, especially the Norse knotworks, Viking knotworks, Celtic art, everything that is connected to it. I mean, you can see my hand, so arm. It's all part of my, I don't know, my persona, or what can I say? But the thing was that it was very dreamy, and it sounds very fantastic when I read those stories, that I already have my version in my head, my imagination of those giants, gods, heroes, creatures from those myths. So in 2007, I think, I was working at that time for in children book marketplace, and I was working for one book called How to Be a Viking for Templar Publishing. So it's actually picture book, children picture book about Vikings, and there were three illustrators working on this book. I was one of them. So each one of us got some part assigned for the book. And although I got some gods and giants to illustrate, I was wondering how will it work if I make my own book without any art direction, without any art brief from somebody other than me. How will that look? And that was the spark that later became a flame, and then 10 years after that, I made the book.
And it was a big success. I mean, I know that there's articles written about it, that it was one of the largest sourcings that I think in Croatian history, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. Even it was so big that it was part of the news at national news at prime time, and in the biggest newspaper in Croatia. And after that, people send me emails or call me. Hey, I heard you have great Kickstarter. I was making something in agriculture. So how can I make Kickstarter? Whoa, I didn't make it. John Shindehete from Art Order actually made the campaign about my book, but I didn't make it. So I don't know how to make a campaign. I mean, and the another reason, when you are from Croatia or from some other countries, Kickstarter don't have contract with Croatia. So from here, you cannot make any campaign. You can, if you have friends in US, Germany, Netherlands, UK, Australia, or some other big countries that Kickstarter is working with, or you can start company in one of those countries. I mean, it's too complicated. So I made the deal with John, who is really, really great in this kind of projects, and he made all the heavy lifting, all the campaign, all the structure, and we were working for 3 months on this campaign, and it was really, really a blast. It was funded in a few hours, and later we really had a real success. And you know what was funny? At that time, I was still working. So it was 2017. I was still working in art school as a teacher, and I was just started my Magic the Gathering art career.
Wow.
And we get project funded, and it was just too much of everything. And I knew I have to I had to leave something out for a while, because I will probably explode. I will
Right.
It was too much for me. So I made one thing that I thought it will never ever happen. I contact my art directors in Magic, and say, okay, I will have to make a pause for a few months because I need to finish my book, and I still work in art school, and I just cannot work on Magic right now. I mean, after 11 years of trying, can you imagine this?
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, but the art directors, people in Wizards of the Coast, are really, really great. And my art director said, okay, no problem, just let us know when you finish. And I was like, oh my God, I heard that before. It doesn't look good. When people say, just call, we call you back, it never happened. But
Yeah.
after 8 months, I finished the book, and I contacted my art directors, Don Murin and Cynthia Shepard, that I was working at that time. And they were, oh, you're back, no problem. We're still on vacation now, but you can contact, it was some, can't remember who was it, but contact, don't tell me contact Cynthia, or it was vice versa, and she will get you back in for the new set. And that was it. So basically, I'm working for Magic for 5 years, but with 1 year of actually, pause. Nothing happened for 8 or 10 months between Ixalan and Steinbill and my third set.
That had to have been the biggest relief ever.
Yeah, but that was the part that they respect artists, and why we respect them, because it's much better way to say, okay, I really can do it, then take everything and blow it, and then you're out. Then you're really out. So they appreciate when you are honest, and when you say that you can or cannot do something, and they said, okay, it's not the end of the world, but thanks for letting us know. And that's how the real communication is supposed to be, and it is in these great companies, and I mean with normal people, you know.
What piece have you done that was the easiest to do from start to finish, as far as just design to creating it? I mean, which one just came out as easy as can be?
Cauldron Familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was painted in 2 days, from blank paper to it just went out of my brush. Everything from the start till the last detail was without any delay, anything. It was just easy and smooth, all painting process.
And it became a very. I've lost many times to that combo.
Oh really?
Oh yes.
Okay.
The
oven, which oven, and yeah, right.
Oh, it's brutal. Oh, it's brutal because you can't do anything. You just have to sit there and take it. So bad. Yeah. But it's a great. I mean,
that is my most signed card ever for now.
Yeah, it's definitely it's made a mark. I think it had to get banned in a couple of formats. Yeah, because it was so powerful.
And then people said, "Ooh, now it's even more popular."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? Like that's the whole idea. You know, if you want to, like, if you ban a book, more people want to read it. You know?
Yeah.
But now I did hear a little bit of a fun story about 5 Finger Discount and I believe it was your son. There was an incident. Yeah. I would like to hear that story.
Oh, I like it. So you made the research too.
Oh yeah. I researched I got to research.
Yeah. So it was funny story. I was just talking about we moving to a new home. We bought a new home in Zaprešić. It's 30 kilometers from Zagreb, from the capital where I was living for all my life. So we have new apartment, new studio. Everything is new. Studio is actually part of my apartment. And as I said, my son was at that time 3.5 years old, and I was working on 5 Finger Discount on constructing drawing before starting to paint. And the studio doors were open, and I left my drawing board with paper and pencils in studio, right? And we were in the living room, and my wife Marina said, "Where is Jan? He was here." Oh, no. And I went to a studio, and he was holding a pencil and drawing doodles, some scribbles, with huge smile, in daddy studio. Woo, I'm drawing. Like, no. But fortunately, I turned the paper face down. So actually, he drew the scribbles on the back of the painting. So that was the time when I still trying to teach him. This is my working area. This is where daddy is working.
Right.
It is a room like any other room, but I'm working here. And later, when everything was painted and when I was selling the original, I sent a message, and I think I put it on the Facebook post. I said, whoever buy this original is actually getting 2 in price of 1, because on the back you have the original Jan Ćeran, which is the next generation. So you have Milivoj Ćeran and Jan Ćeran on the same artwork. So that was it.
Do you have a picture of the doodle? I would, if you do, I'd love to see it. I mean, did you take any pictures of it before you sent it off?
Of course, I'm documenting everything. So
I must insist.
I will send it. Yeah.
Yes.
I will email it to you so you can include it in the
That is
video.
awesome, because that kind of stuff is just like, that's the stuff that makes it fun, Like I'm glad that it did not that he didn't cause any serious damage, but at least, but at the same time, like, a restoration, you are at least qualified to deal with that kind of stuff.
It wouldn't be a problem, no. I mean, that was just part of job when I was a restorator. So not a problem. But you know, when you mention restoration, the thing that I forgot to mention, what I get from this restoration education, when I need to repaint, make some adjustments on the artwork before final approval, it's much easier because it's the same way if I make retouch on some other painting, but I'm retouching my own artwork. And beside, I know what colors I'm using, what brushes, everything. So I just it's just easier to make those kind of adjustments that are really can be picky. You know, like this hand or this character should have different position of arm or anything like that. In digital medium, it's piece of cake, but in traditional, it's really hard to repaint something, especially if I'm working in watercolor or ecline colors. It's a nightmare. But I have funny stories that I tell to fans and collectors when I am on this when I was on those conventions and events on the panels. When I had to repaint something on World of Warcraft painting, that was a nightmare, because most of World of Warcraft art directors are basically younger people, and most of them were born in digital era,
Okay.
So when they said, just make this glow on character blue yellow instead of blue, like what does it mean? It's not just in Photoshop, making some levels. I don't have it as a separate layer. I need to airbrush it for a few hours and repaint every reflection on character. So that was the hard part.
That's tough.
But still, I'm still very stubborn. So I want to have the original, the same image of printed product. So when collector people who buy art buy my painting from the book or from the game or from anything you want, I don't have to explain. I add this glow in Photoshop. This was changed in Photoshop. No, it was the same as on Magic Card, how it appeared on the painting actually you buy from me. That's why I put the same amount of effort or time, whether I'm working for some low paying card art 10 years ago or top brand Magic Gathering card now. I want to do it traditionally till the end. So that's why even if I don't sell the original, when I took it out from the drawer after 20 years, it will still look the same as a printed product.
No, I get that. I mean, that's and that's admirable. I mean, there's I've obviously everybody has their ways of doing things, and whatever they do is what they do. But there is a certain amount of technical appreciation that one can have for somebody who is saying like, it is what it is. Like, you sort of expect to, when you see like when you go to see a Picasso in a museum, it would throw you off if it didn't look the way it did in the book. If anything, with a lot of, most, not if not all, seeing the paintings in real life is it just blows you away. There's no beating it, and so the fact that you get a chance to even like make that available is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, digital is way more included in art today. I mean, in the game art today.
Yeah.
So, but I see more often the traditional painters became digital than opposite. It's much easier to become digital artist after you have traditional education, then switch from digital to traditional. It's really a lot harder, because there's no layers, there's no undo history button, there's no making hues and contrast and stamp tool, or when I'm working on some painting or drawing with knotwork and border, I first draw left side with all details, then I use trace paper, completely copy on trace paper the knotwork, put it on the right side, transfer it, and then again redoing pencil to have the sharp lines.
Wow,
so it take me sometimes take me 2 or 3 hours, and in Photoshop it's copy, reverse, click, paste, done. See? So, but that is why the marketplace exists, and I really like. I am thankful, grateful to all collectors because they support our art. All of us who work traditionally, especially in Magic Gathering marketplace, it's really mean to us a lot, because we feel that we are doing it for reason. I have most of my originals are not on my walls because I have too much of them. They're in a drawer. When somebody purchase it, frame it, and appreciate it on its famous room or wall, then it actually gave something special to the art itself. So.
Right. You certainly, as an artist, it's not a, let alone, I mean, the fact that you're able to sell your artwork is a feat in and of itself, but that it is not just sold, but it is then displayed somewhere.
Yeah. So the more people can see it, especially collectors who have, like wallpapers full of art, and I have one painting that I said I never ever sell. I had to sell it.
You had to?
Yeah, I had to. It was 7 years ago. My wife and me were in San Diego at Comic-Con. We have a small table in artist area in the Comic-Con, and it was really disaster for us. I mean, we have giant astronomical costs, and there was nothing back. And the collector who was interested in asked me, I would like to buy your Awakening painting. I said, I don't have it here because it was too big for the suitcase, but they have the other originals. He said, okay, I'll take a look. Then he take a look of every single original I had, said, no, I still want that one. I said, but it's not for sale. And my wife said, come on, sell it. No, I don't want it. I love it. Come on, you'll make another painting. And then he said, okay, doesn't matter. Just let me know. Will you sell it or not? I'm fine with your decision, but so I can know if I can count on it or not. And I said, okay, I'll sell it to you. So I sold it, and he framed it, and he actually displayed in room that what was the name of the room? Something like relaxation room. Actually, this collector has a room for his time to enjoy, display all these artworks, and on the other walls there was even some great paintings that from painters, illustrators that I thought I never be in the same room.
Ooh, like who?
I think I don't want to mention some wrong name, because now I had to Yeah, I had to recall the photo, but I think it was some D&D art from 20 years ago or something like this, maybe it was some paintings from, I don't know, John Foster, or some already really established illustrators. But my painting was actually among those other paintings, and it's really I think it's really special when my painting is surrounded in such environment.
That's it's got to be surreal. It's got to be surreal to be a contemporary of these people who were heroes to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got one of your heroes to do the intro to your book too, which is really cool, right?
Oh yeah. The biggest hero, my biggest role model, John Howe. That was really an honor. I mean, I was blown away from the first time I saw his paintings. I was first introduced in illustration to Brian Froud and Alan Lee, and the first book. I mean, that book was like some epic, special religious book in my home. I watched it so many times, and then later, I found out John Howe was fantastic illustrator. I bought a lot of books from him. I even tried to paint with ecoline colors, which are really hard medium to conquer. Mm-hmm. But I always had that idea: if John Howe is so good in this medium, that means it's possible. You just need to try it numerous times, and then after a few years of trying, something happened that I actually learned so much from those painters, especially from John Howe. And later I contacted him, as a fan, and he's really gentle, he's really polite. He gave me a lot of advices, and I unfortunately I didn't met him in person yet, but I still hope one day I will. But when I work on my book, I wanted to have John Howe forward, and okay, I will send him an email and ask him if he's done for it, and he was so polite and said, "Oh, great, lovely. I will really be happy to make a forward for you, but in one condition." I said, "What is condition?" "If I can talk about your Armor Chicken painting." Of course. Because Armor Chicken was painting, I painted for John Howe forum fan art page many years ago, and he liked it very much, and I actually gave the original painting to him as a gift, and he framed it and put it in his home on his wall, and I was like,
wow. That's gotta be insane.
Yeah, that was the dream come true. And then after that, I had that privilege to John Howe actually make forward to my book. And the funny thing was, I was so under influence of John Howe that actually at one point I started to paint as John Howe, which in artistic term it's not so good, because you don't want to be copy of John Howe. You want to be Milivoj Ćeran. You want to be yourself. I had a similar thing with Alan Lee a few years before that, because copying is a way of learning. But if you copy too much and too much of just one artist, then slightly you start to paint similar like that artist. I was very influenced, but at the end, it's always some kind of inner voice that make your shapes on your painting a bit different than the other painters. So after years of making tons of commissions, assignments, everything, I just paint as myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was one band in Croatia. This will be info that will be familiar to people from Croatia, but as an anecdote, it will be readable, understandable for all viewers, all listeners. The band was called Prljavo Kazalište. It means dirty theater, and it was one of the punk bands from late 70s that made some kind of revolution in new wave era in 70s. And in documentary, the frontman from the band said, "We are really we wanted so hard to play like Rolling Stones, but from our speakers it came out something different, because they want to play as the Stones, but at the end they played as themselves." And they actually 40 years ago they made their own voice, which is even today recognizable to the people from this area, But that was it. We have our idols. We want to sound like our idols, but something emerged, something popped up, and this is actually our genuine sound.
Right. I always say that there is it's almost like a DNA, or in a sense that you have like a grandfather and a grandmother of painters that have you carry on certain elements that they have, but you are not an identical copy of it. That's what happens in event, and you'll see. You don't even know, but right now there's some 20-something artists getting started now who's going to be using you as their artistic father, and there's a whole lineage that you can trace it back to.
I mean, we are all born on the what's the phrase, on the shoulder of giants or something like this,
yeah,
English phrase. Yeah, but at the end of the day you actually paint as you want to express yourself from your inner side. That technique and medium you can teach, but creation is part of your persona, of your artistic being. So whenever I get some brief, was it for magic, was it for a cover, was it for anything, I have my own vision that will be different from any other artist, because I have different influences, different education, different role models than some other guy. So even if the company decided to assign 10 different artists for the same image, they will receive 10 completely different images, because everyone will paint in its own style, its own interpretation, and it will just different. So it reminds me that now the Magic Gathering Wizard of the Coast actually more often make this variant is the right word, variant cards, right? Even the squirrel was actually variant, my version. The original was from Jason, right? I think, the Chatterfangs. So there are two Chatterfangs,
right?
The Chatterfangs, yeah.
But at the same, I mean, it is really cool to. I mean, you go to the stores and there he is, just like hanging out on the cover.
Oh yeah, it was for the first time that my art will be on a booster and on the box.
Oh yeah,
I was blown away when I saw that. I mean,
I've seen him already.
Blown away.
Like I was in Target and I was like, oh, there he goes. Yep, that's a mind blowing thing. I mean, you got a lot of mind blowingly cool experiences to put under your belt, and I won't keep you much longer. The only last questions I have is I without disclosing anything very key. I just want to know how many Magic cards you are currently working on for upcoming sets, as well as is there anything else that you're doing that you would like to announce to everyone?
So right now, of course, we are all on NDA, so no names, no anything, but you know that, yeah. But now, right now, I am working on my 65 65 cards, 65th, I don't know what's the what's the English word, 65 cards. So basically 40 something, 45 are published. So I have 20 more in lines unpublished that are actually waiting. Of course, no names, no other info, or anything, but yeah, they kept me busy, and I really love to work for Magic, because it really, it's not just dream come true, but every single assignment is different. You can get some crazy giant eating people, or you can get some small amulet lying in somebody, everything is interesting in its own way. Of course, that the most interesting set I was working on was Kalheim. I mean,
I was gonna say that must have been like a dream come true for you.
Oh, definitely. Actually, that was the first set that I wanted to do much more.
Yeah, you were like, can I do all of them? Can I do every piece?
Can you do anything? But for instance, I have 3 cards in Kaldheim and 6 in Modern Horizons.
I know, right? That's like, you're like,
yeah, but I sometimes wish, if it was just more cards in Kaldheim, because there are Vikings and Magic and Notworks and everything. But at the end, it's all great. I can't complain. I mean, I really I'm doing this for 19 years now, and I'm really happy at position in my career where I am now. So don't get me wrong. I mean,
I don't get anything from you other than gratitude. You seem like you're very, very grateful to be where you are, and you deserve it. You've worked very hard, and I congratulate you on that.
Thank you very much.
And I know I said this is the last one, but now that you're saying that, is there any type of, like, say, a character in Magic that you wish you could have a crack at, like a Planeswalker or maybe an already established character? Is there one that you would love to just try out?
Of course. I mean, everybody wants to do Planeswalkers. I mean, Planeswalkers are just special beings, yeah. But I'm interested in. I hope that I will hopefully, eventually, someday get a chance to paint some dragon, or maybe some land, like just landscape, without any characters or anything, because it's just a different type of art assignment that I will really love to try.
Right.
So we'll see. Maybe in a few years, I don't know.
Hey, that's why I do these, to put it out there, just hopefully, you never know. Somebody may see it and say, oh, he's interested in doing this, and then bing, bang, boom. But, you definitely could do it. I mean, you got the skills for it. So that's for sure.
I'm a mercenary, So artists are mercenaries. What you
very true.
We paint and draw, and that's it, basically.
Yeah, right. Exactly. How can I help you? So thank you so much for the time today. This has been great.
Thank you for inviting me, and have a nice day.
Yes, you too.
Milivoj has made so many of his dreams come true, hasn't he? It's almost suspicious. Do you think he uses a fairy godmother? Because I was thinking about hiring one. I wanted to ask him, but it's sort of like plastic surgery, especially because you can't outright ask a person if they've used one, because nobody's going to tell you that way. But if any of you know any good fairy godmothers, you can email me, and who you know, and I swear, mum's the word. Right then. Now that that's settled, I would like to say before closing, I have 2 very exciting projects to share with you coming up, so stay tuned for that. It's so cool, you'll think that I used a fairy godmother to get it, which I didn't. I would not be asking for one if I did. All right then. Until next time, I got a scoop.